Hey, what's going on, guys? We're back with another video. Today, we'll be doing a preview of the Inter Milan versus Arsenal game, match day 7 in the UEFA Champions League, and we're here to talk about the game as Arsenal go away to face Inter Milan. Although this sounds like a big match with the team and the team we're coming up against, and with our recent performances in the Champions League, wanting to maintain that top spot in the Champions League, but also with the fact that Arsenal are still unbeaten in the Champions League. We've won 6 out of 6 games under Mikel Arteta, and this is a game that's going to be on the road, played at the San Siro. But to be honest with you guys, it's not as I was last season when we played Inter Milan, and we lost 1-0. Um, you know, at the moment, Arsenal are in a really good position from winning all of our games in the group stage before this game to the point where this game feels like a dead rubber on paper. But in reality, I do think Arteta will play a mix of strong players from the first team, as well as players who don't normally get an opportunity, like Eze, Norgard, and Ethan Nwaneri, to name a few. Going into this game, we will talk about Inter and Arsenal, respectively, how they've performed in the Champions League, players to look out for and beware of in this game, my score predictions, and also predicted lineups for the Gunners as the away team and for the home team, Inter Milan, as well as injury updates for both teams. With regards to our last Champions League game, Arsenal are still undefeated in the Champions League. We have not lost any of our Champions League games in the group stages, but I think the most important part of this game is, yes, it is a dead rubber game, and we should be resting players for focusing on the Premier League, just like Inter Milan are top of the Serie A, and they want to focus on their league with a big game coming up against Pisa, and with their rivals in the league, AC Milan, just a few points behind them. Serie A is a very closely knit league. So just because Inter Milan are top of the league right now doesn't mean they can allow other teams to catch up on them. And similarly, I think Inter Milan will also play a rotated team at their ground tomorrow. Compared to last season, though, we're a much better team. And I'm going to go straight into it to give you guys a breakdown of both teams, respectively, how they've done in the Champions League so far. So let's get straight into the video. Hey, what's going on, guys? Today's video will be a Champions League match day 7 game week coverage of the Inter Milan game. Yes, this game is technically a dead rubber because Arsenal pretty much already have enough points for automatic qualification. But I don't think Arteta will play this game as a sacrifice. Just a draw in this game will mathematically guarantee us top 8. 2 points mathematically guarantees us to top 2 of the group stages. Arsenal's next game after Inter Milan is FC Kairat Almaty, and I don't think Arsenal should be worried to play against FC Kairat. They are not a good team, Kairat Almaty. But we're going to break down this Inter versus Arsenal game and talk about how our teams have done respectively in the Champions League group stages so far. With that being said, pretty much so, this game is very much a dead rubber game, with Arsenal being top of the Champions League right now and not lost a single game in the group stages with an impressive defensive record. Has to give credit to the team and Mikel Arteta. Compared to last season, though, when we played Inter Milan, we were not the same team we have now. We did lose 1-0 to them with a penalty from Kananoglu. Unfortunately, in that game, we didn't have the same players we have today, some of the players that we've signed this summer window specifically. And that game, we went to the San Siro without Declan Rice. He had an injury. We go to Inter away again tomorrow, but this Arsenal team has not lost a game in the group stages. We're going with the anticipation to continue to keep up that momentum in the Champions League after beating Bayern Munich convincingly, Atletico Madrid convincingly blowing them out the water, beating Bilbao away from home, Olympiacos away from home, Slavia away from home, Club Brugge away from home, and I believe that Olympiacos game was at home, so I'll correct myself on that. We got the job done at these tough away grounds, and we're very much so in a pole position where this game doesn't really matter. Along with the FC Kairat game, Kairat Almaty, it's two dead rubber games. But with regards to Mikel Arteta and how I think this team will line up tomorrow, I do think that Arteta wants to keep our momentum and shape going, regardless of if this is a Champions League group stage fixture. Getting some of these players' confidence up who desperately need it is key in this game. And the FC Kairat game, some of these kids really need a confidence boost, like the likes of Ethan Maneri, and needs game time under their belt, especially after Ethan Maneri refused to go on loan. We will talk about our lineup later in this video, and what I think we'll set up for, along with Inter Milan's team. Also, in terms of injuries, Mosquera did return on the bench for Arsenal in the Nottingham Forest Premier League game, but we still have injury concerns with Calafiori being out injured and waiting on a return date for Calafiori. Pretty much so, the key players still out injured for Arsenal and Hincapié. In terms of the first team, though, Calafiori is a huge miss so far. So you'll see who I play in center back and at left back in this game later on when I talk about my lineups. Inter Milan, from Inter Milan's point of view, let's go to the table. From Inter Milan's point of view, they're 6th in the league, in the Champions League so far. They did draw to Napoli in their league, but in the Champions League, they've lost to Liverpool. They pretty much started out with the same defensive record as Arsenal in the Champions League, but their last two games, they lost to Liverpool at home and lost 2-1 to Atletico Madrid away from home on the road. They struggled pretty much a bit in form and find themselves 6th place on 12 points, as you can see. 12 points in total, with 2 defeats in their last 2 games played. 3 wins against Kairat Almaty, Union St. Gilloise, and Slavia Prague. With that being said, they still have a lot to play for to achieve top 8 automatic qualification and not have to play extra games in the playoffs. Pretty much, teams like Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, and Liverpool are all aiming to get into that automatic qualification to avoid players being overplayed, key players being overplayed and not having a rest. But also, not having to play extra games is crucial, especially when you're fighting for your league, respectively, whether it be the Serie A or the Premier League. You don't want to have to play excess games if you don't have to. Inter Milan, of course, have a new manager under Kubi. No more Inzaghi, and the players for me that stand out for Inter Milan that I'd be afraid of going up against are Di Marco, Nico Barella. Bastoni's not necessarily had a consistent season so far. If you talk to Inter Milan fans, they've told you that he's not really been as consistent as he was last season. And the one player that I think still is a threat, I guess both of them, is Lautaro Martinez and Marcus Thuram. These two, I know Lautaro Martinez has 15 goals in all competitions so far, which is brilliant for him this way through to the season. Same thing with Marcus Thuram. You know what he offers. With those two, it can be deadly and lethal. But pretty much when you ask Serie A fans and Inter Milan fans, their main focus is the Serie A, as they're trying to win the Serie A. But the league is still so tight. Inter are going to be focused on their next game against Pisa, and I don't think they're going to play a fully strength-loaded team against Arsenal. The same thing, I don't think Arsenal will play a fully strong first team against Inter Milan in tomorrow's game. I also think Zielinski's one of the players to look out for in this game. He's been having a good season for Inter Milan. And I guess the huge miss for Inter Milan in terms of injuries are Kananoglu, as he's out injured, and Denzel Dumfries with an ankle injury. My lineup for Inter Milan would be Jan Sommer in goal, Akanji, Acerbi, Bastoni, Barella, Zielinski, and Mkhitaryan in midfield. Former Arsenal player Mkhitaryan. And then Luis Enrique going forward along with DeMarco, and then the front two of Martinez and Esposito, if they play him, that is. But I do think they might just go with Martinez only up front, and I do think Esposito will very much be on the bench. In terms of my Arsenal lineup going into the In terms of my Arsenal lineup going into this game, I do think Arsenal will play a mix of strong players as well as bench players. So my Arsenal lineup that I think Arteta would pick is Raya in goal, Timber, Mosquera, Norgard, Lewis Skelly. Norgard at center back to be specific. Midfield three of Mikel Merino, Ethan Nwaneri, Ebriche Eze, who has hardly gotten game time, by the way, and then a front three of Madueke, Jesus, and Martinelli. I do think this is a lineup we'll do a 4-3-3, but with a mix of starting players like Timber and Madueke, bench player, Martinelli, a starting player, and Raya, also a starting player. I don't think Kepa will play this game. I do think we will play Raya. But again, my Arsenal lineup is Raya in goal, Timber, Mosquera, Norgard, Lewis Skelly, Merino, Ethan Nwaneri, Eze, Madueke, Jesus, and Martinelli. In terms of whether both teams will sacrifice this game, I don't think that's necessarily the case, but I do think our eyes are on the prize, which is the Premier League, and the same way for Inter Milan. As I just said earlier, their focus is on the Serie A, especially with the fact that they have a big game against Pisa coming up, and Arsenal have a big game against Man United coming up in the Premier League this weekend at the Emirates Stadium. With that being said, in terms of how I think this match will go, I think this match will be a pretty close game. I don't think you're going to see a high-scoring game with regards to the team that both teams put out. I do think that I can see a 1-1 draw, which is a fair result for the Gunners. If we just get a point, it will mathematically guarantee us top 8, which means we'll be automatically qualified into the next round of the Champions League, and more importantly, avoid these useless and unnecessary playoff fixtures when we can get the job done and maintain our top spot, hopefully, in the Champions League. Arsenal this season deserve a lot of credit in the Champions League group stages for our defensive strength, and most importantly for going unbeaten in the Champions League so far. But with convincing wins against Bayern Munich and beating Atletico Madrid, but also some of these tough away grounds, we've gotten positive results. For me, what it comes down to is, where will Arsenal be when it comes to the knockout stages? Will we continue this momentum and form? And that's why I think Arteta will not go for a completely weak lineup, because he wants to maintain that momentum and that flow we have going in the Champions League. It is also a mentality thing when it comes to these players, and I do think that he will keep a mix of a strong lineup, because he doesn't want us to lose that mentality and focus on the Champions League as well, and not put all of our eggs in one basket, so to speak. In terms of this game, let me know how you guys think we will be performing. In terms of injuries for Arsenal, Hincapié and Calafiori are still unavailable for team selection, with return dates still to be determined. And I also already discussed the Inter Milan injuries. Please, if you watched this video so far into it, let me know your thoughts on the Arsenal predicted 11 I provided and how you feel this game will go. Please let me know your score predictions in the comments down below. Come on, you Gunners, and more importantly, let's get some playing time for some of these players that we hardly see play. I want to see a convincing performance from them, even if it is a dead rubber game. I hope we have a good performance. Even if it's a draw, I'll be happy with it, because that means we've automatically qualified and we move on to the next round of the UEFA Champions League. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And we'll be doing a live watch-along tomorrow for the game Inter Milan versus Arsenal in the afternoon tomorrow, Eastern Standard Time, or evening UK time, right here on my channel and Moss Sports World. Please do join us if you do want to get involved in the chat. Leave your comments down below how you feel this game will go and what your score predictions are. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you all tomorrow for the watch-along.